And I got troubles and sorrows, but I wait till tomorrow. This is my taking.
This is Dr. Bass with the About That Life podcast, fulfilling our new series, Caring for the Caregiver. As you all have seen over the past several weeks, we've had a wonderful time bringing everyone from caregivers to specialists to different people to really help you build a digital community to allow you to care for the people that you care for. Well, today, as always, I'm joined by my co-champion in this effort, Mr. Williams. Tell the folks hello and a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, my name is Derrick Williams, and I am the founder of Group Innovation and Diversity Training Associates, which is a multidiscipline consulting and training company. We focus on individual, group, and organizational behavior with a cross-cultural analysis. Our motto is, you must first form in order to perform.
I love that. Forming before you perform. And I think that's a great segue into our guest today. Now, we are going to talk about the process of caregiving and what that means and how to structure that. But more importantly, we're going to talk to someone that not only is a caregiver, but that walks people through that process because she's lived it. She's had difficult conversations that we're going to touch on today. She's had scenarios that she didn't know she would have to be prepared for until it was time to happen. Today we are joined by none other than Deanna Brown. And Ms. Brown, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here with you, gentlemen. My name is Deanna Brown, and I am the CEO and founder of Forward Progress Arts and Entertainment Center Incorporated, where we empower creative dreamers to become authentic artists. And our motto is, you can go from dream to screen, from page to stage, and you can make forward progress at any age.
Now, look, I love that concept of forward progress. Now, how did you get into that space? How did you get, because you know, even talking, you seem very just, you have a certain energy about you. So how did you get in that space?
You know, this is what I was purposed to do. This is the gift that God gave me. And for me, getting in this space of the nonprofit, helping the young people that want to be creative, you know, we wanted to encourage them at first. You know, you can do it, baby. But then God put us in the position where we can empower them. Our young people, we teach them job readiness skills by teaching them through the arts. They learn how to make content creation, films, they learn how to do TV shows. And so all of this gives us the opportunity to pour into them so that they can see the world from a different experience.
Wonderful. Now, Mr. Williams, we talked a little earlier about the importance of kind of planting that seed in children. And with this being African American History Month, you told me a couple of stories where just your simple, quick interaction really reshaped and reframed the mindset of several young people. And I think it segues nicely with that. Can you talk about why that's important from a cross-cultural perspective?
Well, it does. And, you know, children are our most precious commodity.
Yes, they are.
Our dreams and some of the things that we haven't achieved, we have an idea that somehow perhaps they can achieve those things for us. And so children, they represent the seeds of our lives, but even more so, they represent the possibilities of our future. Okay, there's no question about it. And there was a time, and when you look at our history, of course, because of historical circumstances, our children were often endangered as a commodity for other people. And so they were very precious. They often had to come into the work field very early in life. And children, for us, was more than just hey, we have another one, but it was a gift, and often a gift from God. And so that's why children are important to us particularly.
And I think as we kind of peel back the layers on this series, many of our caregivers, if not all of them, have been the children and now are caring for parents. And I can speak from a personal perspective, as can you. And I think there's some historical links to that from a cultural, ancestral, not to dig too deep, but and you want to comment on that?
I want to comment on something you were saying about our children. One of the reasons that we started our program, my friend taught me this scripture years ago, was Psalms 127. Mm-hmm. Children are like arrows in the hand of a mighty archer. Yeah. The name of our building, we call it the Quiver, because that's where our arrows come. Our children are the arrows, and we are the archers. And it is so important to lead them and guide them in that direction. And a lot of times, we want to lead them where we want them to go, but we have to listen to them and say, what is the gift that God gave you? And then help them with that gift. And a lot of times, you don't hit the mark the first time.
All right.
You don't, but it's up to us, the adults, the archers. Pick up that arrow, put them back in the quiver, let them learn some things, mend them back together so they can go out again.
Absolutely.
And I think, as we turn this corner into the concept of caregiving,
same thing.
Hitting the mark the first time, getting it right when it happens, because whether it's, I'm a physician, so I should know how to care for my father. I should have all the answers. And I can tell you, I didn't, right? My brother's a lawyer, right? I'll know all the paperwork and guess what? We didn't. We were ill-equipped. When you talk about your experience, walk people through how you got to a space where initially we were just caring for medical problems, right? Navigating that, and then transitioning to, over time, how it evolved into something different.
Well, I'll tell you, my mom, she lived by herself, next door to her sister, and she was taking care of herself up to 80 years old. But I went one day after a show, and she didn't look right. Mm-hmm. You okay? You take all your medicine? She said, I'm good. All I got to do, is lock the door. Okay. It's 9:00 at night. I've stayed long enough. I got to go home. Mm-hmm. And later that evening, her sister came over and found her. She had fallen. And so that morning, called the EMS, took her to the hospital. And for the next year, maybe 6 months, back and forth to the hospital, found at the point she can't live by herself. So my older sister took her in, and my two older sisters live in the same home, so they took her in, and then she gets to come to my house every now and again. But her conditions were, she had congestive heart failure, COPD, and dementia. And dementia is the one that is really taking a toll on her now. And so late September, she went into the emergency room, and it was probably October the 1st where I went to visit with the big smile and the balloons, Come to visit mama, And it was that day where they were like, ma'am, you're going to need to make a decision. And I'm like, what? So that day I had to make a DNR decision. One sister was out of town. Two sisters were out of town. The other one wasn't. I'm on the phone with them trying to tell them what a DNR is. I am hyperventilating in the middle of a hallway in the emergency room to make the decision. And DNR, what I had to learn in that moment meant do not resuscitate. I didn't even know that. And that was October the 1st. October the 2nd, we put my mom, we had to make then a decision to take her to rehab versus going back home for rehab. My mama likes to say, all my children are senior citizens. I'm the youngest. And so the two older ones just didn't have the physical capacity, none of us did, to do, the things that she needed. My two older sisters are amazing. They monitored her medications to where they understood what medication was doing what. And there was one particular medication that was really bad. And so they were able to take her off of that. So right now, my mom's been in hospice since October. And it is a journey.
Yes, it is.
No, I mean, that's, can you talk about, and I'm saying this, lovingly, kind of the process of emotionally, mentally, and at some point physically.
Oh God, yeah.
Saying I'm going to let go from a community standpoint. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's not something that we do very easy collectively.
It's one of the most difficult things that we're faced with.
Yes,
And because of our attachment, and Deanna, I think you alluded to, you're the youngest, is
Yes.
that correct? Okay, well, I'm the baby too. And I think there's a special social attachment with the last born that is indescribable. And the relationship between mom and last born child or my baby is in fact very unique. And being faced with reality and what is a natural evolving phenomenon. We don't all stay around as long as we want to, but to be faced with a decision-making process, it's a little different, okay, especially when someone is deferring to another member of the family to make some decisions as to whether or not should we try another 4 months, another 5 months. You want to ick every hour of existence out of that person, especially if, that person was either head of the household or in our case, and I'm talking about being the youngest, it seems like we were with them longer than anybody else.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's a defying reality that is tough, and often our decisions we fight back to reality. Okay, we know that this is a truism, but we just maybe we'll get a miracle.
That's the one you pray for.
Miracles are something that don't happen as frequently as we would like to think. And so it is a tremendous decision-making process, and particularly depending on the order of the family, Dr. Batts, sometimes even more painful. I had to make a decision. The decision I made was I was leaving the hospital, and I turned around and looked at my mother, and she was still sitting up, and my mother is unsighted. She was blind. And I left out and I came back in, and she had the congestive heart failure. And I walked over, and she said, "Why are you back?" And I said, "It's okay, Mom." And I was actually giving her permission to transition. And by the time I got home, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I got a call saying, "Mr. Williams, your mother has transitioned, has passed." Okay. And in that situation, she would have fought until hell froze over. Okay. And I just instinctively knew that. And she needed someone to give permission. And I went back, and it was one of the hardest things I had to do. So when you ask about the difficulty,
Yes, sir.
it's immeasurable.
Yes, sir.
Truly immeasurable. Yes.
Now, how did that change? Making that decision, now that you know what DNR, or do not resuscitate, means, how did that change things for you?
Every day going to the hospice now is this the day? Is this the day? Do not resuscitate. That means if something happens, they're not going to bring her back. And again, another day with the balloons, and just so happy coming into the room. And I had one of my daughters with me, and my mom would not go to therapy. She wouldn't do the things to get out the room. She just felt so weak. And so I come around the corner, and I'm like, "Hey, where's my mama?" Because she's not in the bed. And I'm thinking, girl finally went to therapy.
Yeah.
My daughter behind me, she says, "On the floor." So now I'm screaming, "My mom's on the floor." I had a strawberry shake, which she loves, and something else. Apparently everything I just dropped. Wow. And I ran to get help, and I came back, and I just dove on the floor, and it was just wet. And I remember just being soaking wet, and she looked in my eyes, and she said, "Calm down, Deanna. I'm okay." And I said, "Mom." She said, "I ain't that far gone. Calm down."
No.
It was one of the hardest moments, not knowing how long you've been down there, what's going on. So those kind of moments are terrifying. And the guilt that I felt from not being able to do the caregiving myself, but I had to ask a facility to help because none of my sisters are medically inclined at all. I am the least medically inclined, okay?
Yeah.
So for us, this was just not something that we could do that would help our mom. We would hurt.
Sure.
Because, and it was hard to explain that to people. I'll take care of my mama to the end. God bless you. We knew that we couldn't. And so my mom's still here.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we created this series, was to provide a space where we talk about strategies or tools or resources that help us to prepare for the inevitable, right? For when that time comes where you have to make that decision or where you have to. So, you know, if you could reverse time and go back and say, okay, I'm going to emotionally equip myself this way, or I'm going to physically equip. What would be some things that you would tell someone that's maybe on the precipice, the early stages, kind of seeing the signs, but not quite there yet? What would be some things you would tell them to do?
Definitely, it is not selfish to do self-care, to take your own moments. You try to do everything. I try to be at the hospital 24 hours a day. You can't do that. You have to take care of yourself. They say if you don't put on your own oxygen mask, right? It's the same thing. You never really want to say, well, if my parent dies of this, that, or the other, then this is what I'll do, because we don't want to think about it, right?
Sure.
But our parents prepared us that life and death is inevitable, right? What I would say, once my mom started to get sick and in and out of the emergency room, I would say to myself now, back then, get more informed, ask more questions. What happens next? What's the progression of this disease? You know, I know you have congestive heart failure, but what is that going to look like in the next few months?
Yes.
And so even knowing that it's coming is really difficult, but it is, for me, better knowing, like with the dementia, her taste buds are leaving, she's losing weight, so I'm not in shock when I go in and she's skinnier than she was before, more gaunt than before, repeating the same stories, or I'm more informed about dementia. So I would say with all of those, to be as informed as possible. A lot of times we do want to disconnect. You know, the cognitive dissonance of it all, believing that it's going to be a miracle, because today was a great day. Today was so good that we're asking, can you do a swallow test so that she can eat regular food again? You know, or so encouraged because, you know, she remembered everybody today. And then the next day, you know, you remember we are in this reality.
Like a roller coaster.
No, and it harkens back to that discussion or that saying where they say the one constant in life is change. And I think for many of us, even though we know that is the constant, it's tough to deal with change because we've seen so much of one version of our parents. And interestingly, I'm also the youngest.
You're the youngest too.
Right, I'm also the youngest, right? So I've seen my dad be the person that taught me how to read a map, that taught me how to use a compass, that taught me how to, you know, navigate in the woods at night. I don't know why I would need that, but he was Army Airborne, right? So he gave me the tools I need. But then on the flip side, to see us turn our downstairs room in my mom's house into a medical clinic, into a room, that changed. I couldn't be the one because I'm the only medically inclined one, but it was tough. And so I appreciate really you being able to share authentically and allowing us a snapshot, which I know you're painting a portrait, right? You're painting a portrait. But as we close out, is there anything else that you would like to add to encourage the folks watching or so?
I would. As a filmmaker, I use my little phone all the time, and I would encourage you to take pictures, use the recording app, use the video app, even like the doctor don't want you to, but this is me all the time. It's my mama. And as many pictures, have as many conversations. Now, as the baby, I feel like I had the hard conversations that my older sisters didn't have. You know, as the baby, you're the last one. I think that they've gone through so much. They're like I don't even care. They have those conversations. So be sure to have those conversations as much as possible. Like, my mom is still coherent, so there's things she can talk about. She's in hospice, so we have a little book there. So for anybody who comes to visit, write down something. You know, the little funeral book you have. Well, now she's still alive. You can write something while she's still here. Just little things to keep me reminded that my mom's still here. Purple is the color of dementia and Alzheimer. It's my mama's favorite color. Never was a purple girl. I got a little purple strand of hair now. Okay. Little things to keep you reminded of the love and the joy that is going to last longer than that funeral. Because once the funeral comes, once all of it's said and done, you're going to have these memories.
Absolutely.
And which one do you want to be flooded with?
Wow. That was so powerful.
Thank you.
Well, we thank you for sharing and really appreciate you being here and helping all of us to understand that although change is inevitable, capturing those moments when you can and having that to live on in perpetuity is really how you allow them to move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
As I mentioned, this is Dr. Batts with our Caring for the Caregiver series here on TAN TV. We've had an opportunity to talk with Mrs. Brown, where she explains understanding the difficulty of how you navigate a DNR order, how you navigate change, but more importantly, how you capture and create memories that will last you a lifetime. Understand that caring for a loved one is not an easy task. We don't think you should do it alone. And self-care is not selfish. So as we close out this episode, we want to let you know that we care for you as you care for your care. Thank you.